My name is Shelley Overgaard.
And my name is Sherry Gray.
And we are the directors of this year's 2014 Michiana Monologues, City of Women. Thank you for coming tonight. Along with yourselves, so many people from our campus and community have made tonight possible. Please consult your programs to see all the sponsors who support this project. We are grateful to all of them.
The Michiana Monologues was inspired by the Vagina Monologues, Eve Ensler's Tony Award-winning play, composed of original stories written anonymously by local women.
Our purpose is to educate, entertain, and raise awareness about the complexities of women's lives. Proceeds for this year's production go toward the organizations listed in your program, which do crucial work in the community to end violence and support the health of individuals and families.
The stories you hear tonight are locally written and submitted anonymously, and they are true. The women on the stage are actors reading someone else's stories. This means the women who wrote these pieces may be someone you passed in the hall at school or at work, could be your child's school teacher, your doctor, your mother, your daughter, or possibly even the person sitting right next to you.
Tonight, we honor the women who had the courage to write their stories and applaud the women who have the audacity to tell them.
If anything you hear tonight moves you and you want to speak to a support person, there are two SOS advocates at the back of the auditorium with bandanas on their arms who will be able to talk to you at any point during the show, the intermission, or afterward.
The most important thing, everybody take out your cell phone right now. Turn it off. Put it away. We'll wait. Go ahead.
Okay? Because we will mock you if it comes on, really spotlight.
Yeah, it can be bad.
Really
They're
bad.
And now, cell phones are off? Okay. It is our honor to bring you lucky number 7 of the original production of Michiana Monologues 2014, City of Women.
Low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. Yeah, I mean it as a metaphor. Or maybe I don't. Low-hanging fruit. Ripe, delicious, sexy, strong. That's how I want to see my aging body. How do I want it to be seen? Mature, juicy, worthy of savoring, worthy of awe, worthy of respect. It's not easy in a culture that hates the aging female body. I'll spare you the litany of injustice as George Clooney just keeps getting sexier with age. But golly, did you catch Meryl Streep or Gina Davis in their latest close-ups on film? Yikes. They just looked old. Crypt Keeper old. Yuck. I'm not a fan of those cliches that try too hard, claiming that women are like fine wine, getting better with age. You can hear how hard the speaker rose against the tide of our culture. More like a tsunami, really, of cultural disgust, of female bodies that lie beyond the boundaries of cosmopolitan magazine models. Of course, we all know those bodies are airbrushed lies, but those lies get in our heads, and they damage us. They fill us with shame about flesh that proves that we have lived fully and well. On my best days, I find it a relief to be aging, to be so far off the charts of culturally desirable that I can just enjoy my body. Aging is, after all, pretty interesting. Hip bones that used to be buried in youthful flesh now jut at angles that I'm still getting used to. Well, hello there, saucy things. Breasts, they used to sit high. Well, have I mentioned low-hanging fruit? Those breasts are now as soft as late September tomatoes, but I feel tenderly toward them. Old pals, we have seen a thing or two, haven't we? Fumbling lovers, menstrual bloat, lactating spectacles of shooting milk, a cancer scare or two. They now hang like worn flannel against my ribcage, cozy, comforting. I hope they hang around as long as I do. I know I can't count on it. I could go on about how my youthful, curved belly used to cause me such anxiety that I spent long, terrible evenings in too tight clothes, sucking in my breath, when I should have been cutting it loose on the dance floor to Cyndi Lauper. Now, I've got so much postpartum flesh pooching over my underpants elastic that I can only be amused that my belly is baroque in its puckers and crinkles. How can I not feel kindly toward it? Even when it swings low while I'm in a yoga move like the downward dog. Or when it gently slaps my partner during lovemaking. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. Low-hanging fruit? Sure. I feel ripe. I feel full of experience and love and pain and the throbbing pulse that reminds us that we are lucky to be alive. I'm too old, too happily old, to waste any precious human energy on shame about my body. My wrinkling, surprising body is charming, sexy, funny, cozy, and ready to be appreciated, not just by others, but by me too. Woo!
Brassy women were a feature of my childhood. Parents, relations, teachers, scout leaders, coaches, friends, moms, they were always on me and other girls my age that we could be whatever we wanted. It was the 90s, and the liberal feminist adults in my life were bent on driving that fact home. You can be anything you want to be. Nothing is closed to you. Doesn't matter what other people think. Follow your passions. Except that I didn't really have any passions. Neither did I have any particular ambitions planned out for my life on that fateful night in 5th grade, when my parents took me to the district-wide band instrument testing night at the high school gym. And I was told that I should definitely play the trumpet. The trumpet. Seriously? Girls don't play the trumpet. Nobody plays trumpet. Nobody but guys with weaselly mustaches and thin lips and that black guy Satch something, whatever. Who cares? I'm only doing band because my friends are doing it. How little I knew. For example, I didn't know that when you put 600 band kids from 6 elementary schools and 1 high school into one gym, that absolutely every surface will resonate as though touched by God. That you could see the air itself quiver and dance in front of you, and the parents in the stands will weep openly as you approach the climax of the theme from Jurassic Park. I couldn't anticipate that moment in junior high, being called upon to stand and bow at the end of my first solo, and feeling for the first time in any context an opioid rush of pride and joy in my own achievements, nor that feeling never goes away. I would never have guessed that my high school years would find me on at marching band rehearsal on a cold November morning, perfecting a look of mingled nausea, disbelief, and resignation as the rest of the trumpet section, bored and ignored, created a small lake of their own spit and proceeded to pick up and hoist the smallest section member over it like Superman. I learned how to lead them and other trumpet sections. I learned how to hold my own in a pack of men and command their respect. But most of all, I didn't know that we don't get to choose our passions. In Harry Potter, the wand chooses the wizard, and in life, the obsession chooses the mind that's open enough to let it in. I didn't choose to play the trumpet chose me. And though that moment wasn't underscored with flying sparks or the music of John Williams, it set events into motion that would shape the rest of my life. Music has transfigured me. Before, I was a quiet girl with a lot of daydreams and little direction in life. The brassy women who raised me and pushed me through life did their best, but the trumpet's call spoke to me with greater eloquence. When I pick up the horn, I am transformed. I am confident, I am driven. This is as true today as it was when I first learned it at age 14. After 15 years of pursuing music, through passion and burnout, through success and failure and success again, the greatest lesson I have learned is this. If I am to have fire in my heart and iron in my spine, then I must have brass in my hands.
I knew it had to be something bad when my mother told me to come to her room after dinner. At 10 years old, the good things came at birthdays and holidays, and when good news was shared, typically the whole family was present. So why did I have to meet her in private? Well, that night I found out. Atop my parents' twin beds sat a long pink cardboard box. No wrapping. My mother was seated on the other bed, looking unusually perky. That pretty much made me suspicious. She had me sit next to her and started to explain that there's something that happens to all young ladies called menstruation. After describing the monthly blood flow, or periods, she led me over to the mysterious pink box labeled the Miss Deb Kit. First, she handed me 2 booklets from the kit. One was entitled, "You're a Young Lady Now." She then described how to wear the Kotex napkins and pulled out the Miss Deb belt and the embroidered bikini napkin holder. Inside the box, there were 2 kinds of napkins, regular and slim. I was incredibly embarrassed when she made me try on the belt. Hooks that are itchy and uncomfortable and elastic stuck to me. The pad was even worse. It's huge, bulky, and made me walk funny. Well, after that awful ordeal, my mother asked if I had any questions. Well, my initial question was sociological in focus. "What about nuns?" I asked. As a Jewish girl, I thought nuns were special and strange and therefore would be exempt from something so messy. As a devoted fan of Laura Ingalls Wilder books, my second question was historical in nature. Oh, what about the old days when the women wore big hoop skirts? What did they do? And already knowing the answer, I asked, did they have Miss Deb kits? And my mother said no. They used rags. How disgusting, I thought. But not to be deterred, my last question was anthropological. Well, what about the women who live in Africa and other parts of the country where they don't wear a lot of clothes? What do they do? And my mother just cocked her head and paused for a minute and said, well, I think they use rags too. What? Then everyone would know. Awful news. So I was right after all. It was bad news. So I snuck back to my room, carrying my Miss Deb kit, but I guess a little thankful that at least I had the Miss Deb kit when the time came. And also especially thankful, at least I got to live in a place where we got to wear clothes.
My vagina is fat. It's soft and squishy and a little hairy right now because I've been too lazy to get waxed. My vagina is many things. It is happy, sad, angry, joyous, pink, soft, abused, pretty, ugly, squishy, and amazing. But most of all, it's fat. I think my vagina has always been fat. I don't have a lot of memory of my young vagina, but for most of my life, I've been fat, so I guess I'm assuming my vagina has always been fat. And until recently, I had never heard of a name for fat vaginas. I mean, there are names for vaginas that have all of that extra inner labia. That's an Arby's vagina. Vaginas that look like sideways hamburger. Vaginas that look like curtains, meat flaps. Vaginas that sort of look like flowers, and vaginas that have an inner labia shaped like a heart. The list could apparently go on forever. And until recently, I had never heard of FUPA. FUPA stands for Fat Upper Pussy Area. At first, I was offended. I don't particularly like the word pussy to begin with, and now it was part of describing my fat vagina to the world. How dare someone make such derogatory remarks about my fat vagina? It's mine, and you couldn't possibly understand its wonder. But after I settled down and realized it was not a personal attack on my vagina, I kind of started to enjoy it. Fupa. Fupa. It's kind of fun to say. Fupa! I know this seems trivial to most people, but my fat vagina has been a big part of my life. I mean, for one, it's always been there, and but beyond that, its fatness has always seemed special. Of course, I know all of our vaginas are different and whatever, but my vagina is fun and fat. Did you know I've been told by men that they like my fat vagina because it hugs their penis better when they have sex with me? You know that saying, more cushion for the cushion? That saying is about my fat vagina. So now you know all about my fat vagina, how it's glorious and doesn't get nearly as enough praise as it should. So the next time you hear the word fupa, you think of that, all right? I guess this fupa thing is something I could live with after all.
Have you never broken the law? I mean, at all. Stolen anything? Disobeyed the speed limit? Did a drug? Drove when perhaps you shouldn't have? As minimal as the infraction may be, not everyone is lucky enough to escape imprisonment. I hope you never have to deal with the ramifications of the judicial system, unlike so many others who are just like you. We must end the misconception that all convicts are deviant, that they're bad people. They could be sitting right next to you. It could be me, Miss 78727. Imagine this, you hear. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or may be used against you. And the truth of the matter is, it will be used against you. Perhaps for the rest of your life. What you take for granted as the minimum requirements for humane living are denied during incarceration. So you think orange is the new black? Forget what you see on TV. In county jails, there are no rec rooms, no freedoms. That orange probably turned black from lack of washing. Here are some tips about life in jail, the do's and the don'ts. Do, take a shower. Of course, only if allowed. The men in control have no problems denying showers and or clean clothes. And this also includes denying clean clothes if you've had the bad luck of being bloodied and or urinated on. A shower is the only way to feel halfway clean after wearing and sleeping in the same clothes for days. Would you sleep naked with male guards checking your ID bracelet while you were sleeping? Do, learn to get out of the shower without exposing yourself. Good luck, since the towel barely covers your ass. Also, since the door to the ward faces the showers and the male guards and male inmates enter without warning, you must learn to cover yourself while in the shower and while getting dressed. The ethical guards holler, "Cover up!" Of course, this is only after they have already entered. Do, remember that the shower is the only place you can be alone, weep, and regroup that is even semi-private. What to know about hygiene? Guards will often deny pads for days. Hoard them. Pro tip, learn to make tampons out of your pads. Wash your panties daily and hang them on the vent to dry. That recycled methane gas you breathe in daily works great for quick drying clothes. If you're denied access to the commissary, you could wear the same panties for days, months, or even more. There are exceptions, of course. Bartering and hustling and connections all have their benefits. If you think you might go to jail, wear multiple pairs of panties. Do have fun when you can. Only the men get kickballs to play with. Women can cram a roll of toilet paper into a sock for a football. It is especially great for slamming against the wall to relieve angst. However, it will be probably taken away from you because anything not used for its original purpose is deemed contraband. Do exercise. Contrary to the popular belief, one does not always lose weight while incarcerated. Not on 2 meals a day, bologna and chips, and no recreation. Don't. Shut the door to the cell behind you, even for fun. The electric system is new to the jail and it has glitches. If there is a glitch, you may be locked in the cell, possibly the wrong cell, which means during head count, you may not be able to make it back to your own room and therefore charged with escape. Do. Ask those on the outside for books. The only books available are religious, self-help, how to be a good wife and mother, how to keep a man, and how to be a proper woman. And if you want religious books, Protestant Christianity is your only choice. Don't go to an infirmary. Medical treatment is a story in itself. Let's just say having multiple teeth pulled without any pain reliever is unethical at its best. Do learn how to barter and hoard, especially the instant coffee. It's like gold. Do learn to use what you have. You will walk out of there like MacGyver Jr. Empty soda bottles filled with hot water works amazingly for cramps and for freezing nights. Most nights. Do learn to be quiet in your cell. Sometimes you can tell how the weather is like outside because you can hear the rain. Don't pass kites. A kite is a letter folded and slid under the door from ward to ward. One female breaking the rules has the potential to get the entire ward on lockdown, possibly for days. Besides being on lockdown, this also means no visitors for anyone. You will be ostracized. Do remember the following: solidarity, support each other. Outside of jail, women are mothers, wives, partners, sisters, and daughters. They are somebody's loved one. And when one person receives rough news, all friction is gone. Not all of the guards are malicious. Some actually care. Tell people of the gender double standard. Only men can be trustees, who can move freely for some odd jobs like cooking, cleaning, repairs, and passing out clean laundry. The only odd job women are allowed to do is washing laundry a few times a week for a mere extra plate of food. Not everyone gets the time for deep introspection. Use it to your advantage. Do journal and record inhumane activities. Do plan to contact your local news. Write the ACLU. It's 5 years since I was released, after almost a year of incarceration. Upon release, people are thrown into the world wearing their digital scarlet letter and are unable to receive financial aid, government assistance, housing aid, welfare, social security disability, food stamps, and the list goes on. Want to get a job when you get out? I have been sought after specifically for jobs and hired verbally multiple times until I get that call about my background check. Ex-convicts might be free, but not mentally. The repercussions are endless. 5 years later, sitting in class, I can be flooded with shame, feeling like I don't belong on campus. The pain and shame is still here like a wound that continually breaks open with each movement I try to make. And me? I'm lucky. I was able to take that fear and determination and persevere. I had love and support not only from my family and friends, but from a few people here at IUSB who knew about my situation. Now, I'm applying to graduate school, in hopes to shed light on the situation, conducting research with people who have already been incarcerated. In fact, it is how I got through my days at Elkhart County Jail, telling myself that I was there doing research. I graduated with many distinctions, but I can still feel the wound of incarceration. Finally, though, it is starting to heal. Look around. I may be sitting right next to you. You may already know me. And nobody is going to tell me that I do not belong right here.
One girl card, please. What do you mean, what's a girl card? Don't you have one? One time in college, my gay card was taken away from me because I didn't know who Patty Lupone was. I'd never heard the expression before, but since I sported a male body and I dated men, I assumed that the privileges to identify as such had been revoked by an arbiter of gay. So I'm here for my girl card. No, I don't look like you. But since when has the way that people looked been the fundamental difference between experience, identity, relationships? I'm not a girl. And tell me, what defines girl? Her body? We all start female-bodied, but my mother's womb took mine away. As her androgen bath spilled over my pink, still developing form, it stole my chance for life as a girl. Replaced my clit with this prick that defines my place in our physically gendered world. As I speak, testosterone courses through my veins, not asking what I want. No, just coating my face in this hair that won't come off. Deepening my voice, flattening my chest and defiling it with hair. So no, I don't have a girl's body, but I've always had a girl's spirit. Don't tell me you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm asking for a girl card. Obviously, I know what girl power is. You see, when tracks like Wannabe and Viva Forever first populated my CD player, my 9-year-old body wasn't much different than any other girls I knew. I was accepted. I was trusted and loved. I was also Baby Spice, and my kid sister played Ginger. We'd harmonize and shake our undifferentiated bodies while watching Spice World, feeling more beautiful than life itself. My body was strong. My heart felt so innocent, and my smile never looked so pretty. So you see, I've had girl power for a hell of a lot longer than this. And it runs so much deeper inside me than this. Not enough for my girl card, you say? Then what else defines girl? Her emotions. They say girls are more expressive in their emotions while boys are more assertive in theirs. Well, this socially deemed boy discovered that by expressing myself, my heart could stay safe. In the 3rd grade, I always left for school after a ritual. "Goodbye, Mom," I'd say as I wrapped her tight in my arms. "I love you," she'd reply, planting a kiss on my cheek. And one day, one god-awful day, my dad decides to just push me out of the house. Before our goodbye. I'd never not gotten to say goodbye to my mom before. It wasn't just the goodbye. It was her hug, that mom smell, the way just the scent of her perfume could instantly save me from my deepest worries and fears. So when I reach my desk, tears drown my eyes. At art time, my teacher takes me by my hand as I wail, "I didn't get to say goodbye to my mom!" She picks up the phone and dials my number. My mom answers, curling rollers still in. "Hello?" she says in that mom way of saying it. And I say, "Mom." The first thing I hear is, "Oh God, honey, what's wrong?" I just wanted to say goodbye to you. I didn't get to say it this morning. Oh, bless your heart. Goodbye, sweetheart. Have a good day. My tears evaporate, and my art project outshines the entire class. But 20 minutes later, I'm asked to come to the hallway because my teacher wishes to speak in private. And it's my mom. She comes to school just to hug me. Because that is what happens every morning before school. So we hug and we goodbye. I breathe in my mom's comfort. She kisses me goodbye. So I'm here for my girl card. Because that way, when I ride buses and answer questions, I won't seem all that strange. Women's studies? Why do you study women? Are you gay? How could I be gay if that card was revoked? The arbiter said no. He took my gay card away. Before I answer, she apologizes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean disrespect. Are you a woman? I ask, thinking, you're okay with being you. You have your girl card. Do I not look like a woman? She demands, dignity singed. But my intent was not to challenge. If I had a card, I could tell you that I'm one of you. You're one of me. My body wasn't always this way. I'd go back if I could. Take this hair and this chest and these balls and my name. Then by some miracle, I'd be a girl once again. I have lived 24 years in a body housing this girl's spirit and mind. The spirit and mind that no one sees. I'm done waiting on others to hear me out, learn my story. What you might not realize about things like monologues is that if you give life to one girl's voice, record her pain, write her story, then people like me, sentenced to a life imprisoned within their male bodies, resonate. We scream. Hey, listen to her! That's just like me! So please, just this once, give me the proof I deserve. I want my goddamn girl card.
When my mom got sick, I got to know her better than I ever had before. Once my siblings and I realized that the chemotherapy wasn't working, we called in hospice. We took over her care at home, and I spent 4 days a week with her. I paid her bills, changed her bed with her in it, and cooked her meals while I was there. I even had to change her diaper and bathe her. It seemed I was always cleaning, doing laundry, going to the grocery store, and doing other various chores. There were days when she was the mom I had always known, and days when she didn't even know who I was. One day, after she had eaten lunch and the dishes were done, we were watching TV, and she looked at her feet and said, "Painting toenails always makes me happy." So I painted her toenails, and I kept painting her toenails. Even when the hospice nurse told us that the end was near, I painted her toenails one last time, knowing that she will have painted toenails for all eternity. Now, as I am sitting here missing my mom so much, I could cry. Even though it is cold and snowy, even though I know that I won't be wearing sandals anytime soon, and no one will see them. I am painting my toenails, and it makes me happy.
I grew up with 4 brothers. That may sound like a curse, but it was really a blessing. We lived in the country for most of my childhood and learned to rely on each other for entertainment. We moved to South Bend just before my sophomore year of high school. One fall, I was cleaning house and doing laundry while my brothers were out playing with the neighborhood kids. Typical, right? My youngest brother came back to the house to ask me to come out and play football with them and the neighborhood kids. I told him I had too much work to do, but he begged me to come out. It seemed they would be short on one side. I finally relented and went outside to the side street where the game was to be played. We all stood there waiting to see who got picked for which team. When my brother picked me, the guys on the other team just snickered. And I knew what they were thinking. Your sister? You picked the only girl? Tee-hee. We got underway, and the other team had the ball. When the guy ran to me, I reached out and tackled him. He jumped up sputtering and said, "You tackled me! You tackled me!" I looked at him and said, "Aren't we playing tackle football?" He looked at me and said, "But you're a girl." I looked over at my 2 older brothers, and they were laughing their asses off. And it hit me. They had set the kid up. They knew he was a know-it-all chauvinist and had faith that I could take him out in the game. I had never been more proud to be their sister. And I know that this helped me to be a strong and independent woman. Growing up with all those brothers was definitely a blessing.
I am a drummer, a photographer, an activist. I am Indigenous. My wife and I have been together 17 years. The feds recognize our marriage. Indiana does not. I am a two-spirit person. Two-spirit is my gender. My identity places me at the intersection of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer community and Indigenous culture, which is a unique place to be with a story rich in honor and complexity. An Indigenous person of transgender experience may identify as two-spirit, but Indigenous lesbian, bisexual, and gay individuals may also identify in this way. There is also space here for Indigenous genderqueer, gender nonconforming, and other people who do not fit comfortably in an either/or category. Revealing these aspects of cultural identity has been like scrubbing an old tile floor with a toothbrush and uncovering a fiercely beautiful mosaic. Each individual tile of understanding that is revealed contributes to my overall image of myself. The only way I know how to talk about my two-spirit identity is to weave my story with the stories of other Indigenous people of Turtle Island, the land now known as North America. Before the European invaders hit the shores of the Americas, traditional Indigenous societies across all boundaries of difference recognized and embraced individuals whose gender did not fall neatly into male or female, masculine or feminine. In fact, there was no expectation that individuals should fit this binary either-or paradigm. Indigenous views of gender in those days were broadly visioned, with sometimes 3, 4, 5, or more genders recognized in a particular culture. In pre-contact Native societies,
The emphasis was not so much on placing people into categories as it was about empowering the individual to fulfill one's role in tribal society. There was a flexibility that enabled individuals to express their particular gifts in a community. As a result, Two-Spirit people were honored in their societies, often performing sacred ceremonial and spiritual functions reserved only for Two-Spirit people. Two-Spirit people were considered uniquely qualified to perform sacred functions due to their perspectives and experiences walking the Two-Spirit path. Being Two-Spirit means placing oneself within an indigenous worldview that is altogether different than the imposing European society that has grown up around us. The indigenous worldview is one that centers on gender expression and identity, not on sexual orientation. There is no single Two-Spirit identity. Language and understanding vary with indigenous cultural group, as well as from person to person. Many indigenous languages have specific words to identify the Two-Spirit people among them. The Lakota have the Witki, the Crow have the Bat, the Navajo, the Nadle. These words are not translations for Two-Spirit at all. Each term has its own cultural meaning within that nation's history and traditions. The term Two-Spirit is a modern term, coined as a way to have a common language across the Two-Spirit intertribal community. I can only speak for myself for what the term Two-Spirit means to me and the way being Two-Spirit is experienced in my life. There's an innately female spirit within me and an innately male spirit within me. They coexist. They are a team. They work in consort to inform what I do, how I walk in the world, how I breathe from moment to moment. But in the place where they come together, deep in my innermost core, they've grown together. They are woven and twisted around each other in an entirely beautiful way. Two spirits, one solidly rooted core. Today I claim Two-Spirit as my actual gender, not male or female, but an ancient non-binary gender, uniquely and wholly indigenous. This Two-Spirit journey of self-discovery has been my journey home. My Two-Spirit identity informs how I interact with other indigenous folks in a variety of contexts, guides how I engage with the world at large, and most importantly, influences how I experience and am in a relationship with myself.
Seeing red was the best part. That was my high. That cold blade would excite me in ways that no one understood. I'd run it through my fingers, feel that rush take over my body, and I'd push it deeper and deeper into my skin until my whole hand was dripping in blood. Cutting has been my addiction, my drug of choice. My hatred for my body turned me into my own punching bag. The first time I had sex was to a complete stranger in a hotel room just shy of my 16th birthday. My first threesome was by the age of 16 with my boyfriend at the time and his best friend because, hey, you want me to still like you, right? By the age of 17 was when my hatred for myself had hit its all-time low. That was my first time with 3 men. I remember looking at my young, naked, and no longer innocent body, and I hated it. We put so much emphasis on our first in our society, our first love, our first kiss. So I cut myself out of anger, out of self-hatred, and out of feeling like I had just lost control over me. My inside was searching for love and affection, something I longed for as a teenage girl. I felt like by giving away my body, I would feel this, but I felt nothing. Nothing but shame and emptiness. So I cut just to feel something. Anything other than the guilt and the loneliness and the utter disgust for my own body. It's been 9 years, and I still struggle with my craving for that addiction. After seeing a counselor, I no longer see red. I realized that giving away my body was not love. And the scars that I see every day are my reminder that this is my body, and it's the only one that I get. And I have to respect it for me.
It isn't a big thing, just a few words in my carefully crafted script along the outside of my right foot. I got it because I had been writing the same lines of the same poem on my body for over a year in ink. Then a person I admired told me, "You should get that tattoo. You should get it this weekend." That was a Friday, and by Sunday the words were raised in the thin skin that stretches there just below my ankle. I knew that my mother would hate it. Whenever the subject of tattoos was raised, she would push her lips together and say, "They're just so tacky. No class." Those are the most unkind things my mother can say, because they were the most unkind things her mother could say. I warned her. I was like a guinea fowl, puffing and pruning until I was 3 times my size. And then I called her like I do every day. "Mom, I think I'm gonna get a tattoo." She was silent and then said, "You know I don't approve, but it's your body." Considering my mother's propensity for passive-aggressive, veiled, and otherwise frustratingly hurtful wordplay, this was pretty much the best situation. So I went into the shop and bit my tongue and winced as a gypsy man pushed ink into me. And then I sent my mother a picture. She replied via text, "It's big." Not too long after that, she called me and said she had compiled a list of 14 mistakes that she had made during my upbringing that had resulted in me getting this tattoo. I hung up and called her back and told her that we were going to pretend that this conversation never happened. Of course, I tell this story all the time when I'm a little drunk at parties and people ask about the words on my foot, and here I am telling you now, so I'm not doing a really good job at pretending. The feeling I had at that moment, when I asked my mom to pretend, was the same moment I had later that year when she told me, "I don't think that people can be bisexual. I think they're pretty much one way or the other. And either they're in a phase or just pretending to be something they're not." And I said, "Is this a bad time to tell you I have a girlfriend?" It's the same feeling I had when she raged against anyone who opposed our president, and I asked about the drone strikes and the money for education, and she began to cry and asked me why I always had to be so critical. It's the feeling that the Greeks must have felt watching their idols be overturned without retribution. My mother is my most loyal fan and most devoted supporter. I love her with every inch of me, and I have never doubted that her world begins and ends with me. But she is broken. just like her mother before her, and just like me. And now I know that the fierce, unwavering love we share means figuring out how to let one another be as we are. My mother will always think the tattoos are tacky and classless, and I will always love them. And despite that, she will always love me. My tattoo is a line from a Mary Oliver poem called Wild Geese. The first stanza of this poem is, "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You need only let the soft animal of your body love what it loves." My tattoo is love what it loves. Above all else, the deliciously, delightfully flawed woman that is my mother is what I love.
With most people, you can pinch an inch. But with Sally, you can grab a slab, my dad said. I was 9. We'll call you Tire, because Goodyear makes tires as well as blimps, and you look like the Goodyear blimp, my dad said. I was 11. He laughed. What's that nasty thing on your face? My dad asked, after I had given myself a chemical burn trying to get rid of a zit. It's a good thing you wear glasses because it makes your nose look smaller. What did you do to make him leave you? Did you cut your hair with a weed whacker? You would think the comments would roll off my back by now, but they don't. They stick like tiny quills in my skin. I'm half porcupine by now. My dad isn't a bad person, nor a bad father. He's just insensitive. I'm not making excuses. He's said some pretty fucking hurtful things, and I'm sure there's still more to come. My husband threatened him on our wedding day and told him he had better tell me that I was beautiful and he was proud of me. He did. I kind of believed it. I know he's proud of me. I'm an accomplished musician. I'm highly educated. I'm active in the community. But he's only proud of things that he can brag about. That's my daughter. She plays the piano so well because I bought all her music. I paid for the acting lessons when she was a kid. That's why she's up there now. I put you through college. That's why you have a good job. I love my dad. Our relationship now is better than ever. There have been times when I didn't talk to him for days, weeks, months, almost years. But life's too short, and he is my dad. I can depend on him. He continues to teach me things. We watch Notre Dame games together and swear at the TV in unison. We help each other do yard work. He's amazingly intelligent, and I love having conversations with him on topics from politics to the Big Bang Theory, the TV show, not the physics thing. The good definitely outweighs the bad. I said ways. Words hurt, but so does holding a grudge.
After dropping my pants in the kitchen in front of my mom for the 5th time, we both agreed I had officially gotten my first period. 2 spots of dark red-brown on a pad the size of a telephone book meant that I was now a woman. What does that mean? If it means calling all your friends and bragging about being the first to get your period, then I was now a woman. FYI, I plan on calling all my friends and bragging about being the first to start menopause, too, because that means no more periods, and the circle will be complete. Being the first in your group of friends to get your period really isn't all that great. You feel cool for about a day, and then the cramps kick in. And when you're in the 5th grade, it's weird. My mom made me keep a pad in a little zipper case that I snapped into the back of my Trapper Keeper. Just in case, she said, because pad dispensers aren't readily available in elementary schools. One day, my friend, who soon became my enemy, was flipping through my Trapper, admiring my Lisa Frank folders, when she came upon my little zipper case. Curious, she unzipped it, pulled out the pad, then dropped it like it was a turd or something. She shrieked, "Ah!" and she kicked it down the hall. My secret pad was now the ball in an impromptu game of soccer as other kids joined in, kicking it away. I didn't feel so important and grown up anymore. I wanted to go back to playing with the G.I. Joe guys in the dirt. I didn't want to worry about girls sticking pads on my locker and boys snapping my bra. This puberty thing sure did suck. Probably the worst experience I had with anti-flow was at a slumber party. Even at 12, I had a very heavy flow and changed pads every few hours. Oh, and tampons? Hell no. Sticking a wad of cotton up my hoo-ha was out of the question. I'd rather sit on a mattress in my pants. Anyway, I had this cute pair of pink shorty pajamas to show off at said slumber party. And show off, I did. In the morning, I awoke to screams. I had kicked off my sleeping bag in my sleep, and my left side was exposed. I had been sleeping on my back, and I had not gotten up to go to the bathroom all night long. Do you see where this is going? My friends thought I had been stabbed in my sleep because I was now lying in a pool of blood. Those horror movies we watched last night didn't help the hysteria. The screaming woke my friend's dad, who came into the basement, saw blood, turned green, then went upstairs to get my friend's mom. She immediately understood and took care of me. God bless her. I still owe you, Mrs. K.
I love my minge hair. I love looking down at my vagina and seeing my full-bodied, perky, V-shaped hairball that seems to be saying, "Hi, friend." I love rubbing it with conditioner while in the shower so as to make it fluffy and stylish, and then lie naked on my bed, twirling the mingy, curly hair around and around my index finger. I hit puberty insanely early, my breasts coming in at the tender age of 8, and my period following closely behind. My minge, though, was the first sign of my womanage. At age 7, little hair started sprouting, and in no time it grew into a wild, wondrous sea of dark, curly twat locks. I appreciated even loved my minge hair. But at the impressionable age of 11, my best friend accidentally caught a glimpse of my raggedy mane and acted as if it were dog shit on a rug. "You really ought to get rid of that," she said, eyeing my minge hair with disgust. "How can you stand it having that there?" This criticism about my hairy friend kept me up the whole night, wondering, is it really that bad to have hair down there? And a small voice answered, "Well, your best friend seems to think so." So when I got home the following morning, I went upstairs, found my father's razor, and set about getting rid of my now ugly, hairy friend. After I was done, I surveyed the damage and gasped in horror. My once beautiful, full-bodied minge mane that I was so proud of now resembled something like a bald chicken. It looked vulnerable with the plethora of red bumps scattered about it. It looked so cold and vulnerable that I truly believed that if I wiped it with toilet paper, it might shatter into 1,000 little pieces. After that, I never shaved again. A few days later, I asked my friend why she chose to shave her pubic hair. Her response was matter of fact and had a, duh, everybody knows this, quality to it. "No one likes a hairy pussy," she informed me. I wanted to know why. To this day, I still do not understand the attraction to a hairless minge, and until recently, was completely unaware of how this phenomenon came about. Apparently, long ago, prostitutes used to shave their pubic hair so as not to get lice. And in the 1980s, porn directors instructed the women to shave their pubic hair so the camera could get a closer look at their vaginas. Ever since then, the war on pubic hair has escalated. If you ask a random teenage girl what she thinks about shaving her minge hair, she's likely to say that shaving down there is normal and necessary, sanitary. And if the subject is brought up in normal conversation and one girl admits to not shaving her pubic hair, she is then subject to public ridicule. Even guys have started to shave their pubic hair. When my sister brought up minge hair, I admitted that I don't shave mine. She gave me an odd, sympathetic look. "Then how do you expect a guy will ever want you?" she asked. "Well," I replied after a moment, "I expect that a guy will want me because he finds both my personality as well as my body in its present state attractive." And sure enough, 2 months later, I started dating a guy who, when we first made love, didn't care that my minge was not shaved. He cared about me. I don't think that I will ever fully understand why people have such visceral reactions to pubic hair, and frankly, I don't care if I ever do get it. All I know is, at the end of the day, I like to come home, put my keys on my piano, go upstairs, take a shower, and puff up my minge.